So, talking about measurement, which is everywhere, really, I want to, in our discussion, I want to quickly introduce our speakers. We can start with Ramla. You are a worldwide expert in measurement methods, in MMM techniques. You are the founder and president of Mass Analytics. Welcome.
Welcome to Sorin. You're one of our measurement experts as well. We're super thrilled to have you here today. You work with support some of the leading brands in their marketing effectiveness journeys. Previously Mars, now Pepsi and Co. And now you're a published author too. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but welcome.
Thank you, Sorin. And we also have Paul, the one and only Paul Wright. Thank you so much. Instead of welcome, I should say welcome back, because you are a frequent speaker of DCS, an absolute fan, and we are a fan of you, Paul. So we were so lucky to have you in the Paris DCS a couple of months ago. Some of you might remember. You are the head of EMEA for Uber advertising. And you've recently been shortlisted, Paul, as media leader in the media owner category at the 2025 Media Leader UK Awards. Congrats, Paul. Thank you so much for being with us.
And last but not least, welcome to Nadine Warren. Nadine has a combined experience on both agency and publisher side. You're an absolute expert in media, and you're an advanced advertising manager at ITV, so welcome.
Hi.
Hello, Nadine. Thanks for being with us. So, because we have such an incredible array of experts here around the table, mind the gap, we wanted to start as an intro to this measurement-focused roundtable by asking you all about the trends you've been seeing from your corner, your side of the ecosystem, especially for the UK market. Maybe, Paul, we have to start with you. What do you see here?
I think there's a lot going on in various places. What we're seeing is a lot of focus on capturing attention generally as a measurement, and I think that's a key thing. I was talking to some CPGs who are now saying that attention is becoming one of their key measurement on top of data. What is the attention of this ad? When is it being delivered to someone? What is the moment and what's the context? And that's becoming it's a very different thing from, I guess, from the programmatic world, where we were very much send out as many messages as possible and hope that it works type model. Although, you know, I'm sure that's being a bit disparaging, but it's sort of where we were, to a much more targeted in the moment model. You know, when do you get the right user at the right time on any of the big platforms or people like us? So we're seeing a lot of that, and that's changing the way people want to engage with us.
Thank you, Paul. Nadine, on your side, from a publisher's perspective, you're the first publisher this morning. Thank you so much. What's your vision on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think media owners and broadcasters especially have been really focused on their streaming strategies. In order to grow the pie, you know, it's a highly competitive market for us, and to grow those digital revenues, we're all looking at bringing in more advertisers, SMBs. I mean, at ITV we call it the fat end of the long tail. I don't know if that's going to catch on. Maybe more of an internal thing, but you know, I heard it quoted that us broadcasters have about 7,000 advertisers that we work with, and there's many, many more out there. So to enable that, we need to bring about easier access to our platform. There's obviously a huge raft of tech and data capabilities, which is going hand in hand with the rapid CTV growth in Europe. Of course, we'll be talking about, I'm sure, retail media and measurement, which have been, you know, off the back of that exploding. But there's a lot to do in terms of measurement, especially for broadcasters. We're really focused there.
Thank you, Nadine. Sorin, from your brand perspective at Pepsi.
So what's trending at... I don't think this works, no? So what's trending at PepsiCo in the hallway nowadays? I would say it's differentiated growth models. Most of the CPG brands, or like established brands that have been built using mass media for decades and decades, are benefiting from those investments. And honestly, we are struggling to build new brands. And I don't know if it's the same for the other brands large brands in the audience, but we are looking for a lot at new players that are absolutely killing it. One example is Poppy. It's a brand that PepsiCo purchased it was created 5 years ago. It was valued at $2 million in Shark Tank, and it was sold to PepsiCo for $2 billion 5 years later. It's riding on this prebiotic trend, and what we're learning from Poppy is fantastic because their entire measurement philosophy, their entire media philosophy doesn't rely on traditional methods. It's all about influencer content. It's all about seeding. It's things that are not natural for us and things that we don't know how to measure. And our tools are not ready for those kind of approaches. So that's where I'm spending a lot of time now.
Talking about Poppy, I have 2 teenagers living in New York. I must say I have a Poppy budget, which is, I can help with measurement if you need, sorry.
Incremental, please.
We
need
this is very
penetration.
incremental. I'm telling you, this couldn't be more incremental. Ramla, please, your vision on this.
Yeah. So I think I would second Paul when it comes to the attention discussion. I think the quality reach, as you call it in your marketing effectiveness book, is very important today. And I've seen a lot of brands requesting for attention to be part of the marketing mix models. The second thing that we've seen a lot in mass analytics is that there is this need of integrated measurement, but not the way we used to think about it, because back in the days, integrated measurement means that attribution, experimentation, and MMM, all of them had to say the same story and integrated within one another. We know that this is a myth. It doesn't happen anymore. And it's very important that we can take the truth from every single measurement, use experience, the experience for the brands, from the brands, the experience from the vendors, and try to get closer to the truth. And I think that's how we think about integrated measurement today. The third thing that I've seen a lot come in is the speed at which we want to run measurement. So today, running MMM, or even when Stefan was talking about experimentation, it's not a matter of 1 or 2 experiments, it's how can we run this at scale in order to get closer to the truth. So speed is very important. Now budgets are not anymore decided on annual basis, they are decided sometimes on quarterly basis, and there's always this need to update your models in a more frequent way. So your always on analytics becomes today a very important proposition in the marketing measurement space.
Perfect, thank you. Paul, within this context, you can tell us a little bit more about Uber Ads expansion, all the exciting things you've been doing recently. And I know you've got a couple of use cases to share with us.
Yeah, because we're relatively new to market, of course, and we have these very interesting opportunity, and particularly around the attention space, but also measurement. Because when you think about an app usage like ours, it's very much lean in, there's no interruptions, all that type of stuff, both when you're on the rides element, going to somewhere, or whether you're on Uber Eats. So we've created a platform that basically has ad formats natively integrated into the experience that you have, and many of you have seen these. But the beauty is, obviously, we're creating data points all the time. So, I mean, we've got 189 million monthly users, and we're about 3.5 billion trips a quarter, which is about 600 trips a second, I think, something like that. If my maths is good. I'm not so sure it is this morning. All of those create data points. So all of those, that's the data. So we have the data and the context. And I think that's the powerful point of what we do here. And that's why attention is becoming a very important part of what we do. And I think on the next slide, these are some of the units. On the next slide, we did some work with Lumen. Many of you may know Lumen. They do a lot of work on the attention space. So we actually sat people in Ubers with their eye trackers on and tried to work out how the ads were being engaged with. Now, the average Uber trip is about 25 minutes. Varies a little bit longer for airports, but let's say it's 25 minutes broadly. Within that time, we know that the ad is exposed around about 2 minutes because you're in and out of the app according to waiting for the car to confirm, in the car, or waiting for the driver to arrive. You know that thing, and if you're like me and you're OCD, you're sort of desperately worrying about which route they're going to take to get you there on time. So you're back in the map. So we were tracking this. We also tracked the Uber Eats experience as well when you've made a booking to see what Lumen made of the whole principle of attention within our context. So we sort of guessed we had a good thing, but we weren't sure about it. What it proved was, because it's a single user experience, you've got no other distraction. Uber's ads platform is actually second only to OLV non-skippable, so which is YouTube essentially, when you're waiting for the content you want. And obviously there's no transactional value, there's a different transactional point from our point of view there. So that's been great to look at, and we've done a whole load of other work on how that affects brand impact, brand lift, brand favorability. So this whole attention thing seems to be a very strong proposition for us, and what we've done increasingly now is we've just announced a deal with Adelaide and with Kantar to actually start measuring this on a more consistent basis, and there's more to come on that area. But we think this is particularly in a world with AI and everything else, that attention that you have with the user is vital. A couple of examples of ads we've run just to demonstrate how it works. So this is a Pizza Hut example, both running on the Rides app as also on the Uber Eats app. And this won an award for this. I mean, interesting, we're tracking back not only the attention, but also the impact on sales. So the ad, the journey ad, we call the journey ads, these are the ads that run in the Uber Rides experience. So you can see this was a gamified ad. You can actually play Space Invaders with pizzas, whatever. But it's that downtime. You've got a bit of downtime, you can do that type of thing. You play around. We know this from our experience of the app. And that gamified area drove £95,000 worth of sales. The user dwell time, 3 minutes in an ad. The increase in new eaters as well is 26%. So we actually generated 6% new customers, incremental customers. Thibaut? Pizzas this time, not not other things.
Are they incremental to Uber Eats or are they incremental to Pizza Hut?
Both. Because, well, Uber Eats, because you've got to remember that some people have used the Uber Rides app and not necessarily used Uber Eats and vice versa. So there is an element there. So that's a great example of this. And then the other one, the next slide, is just how you can do it in the Uber Eats environment. So this is what we call a post-checkout ad. So we can target people at a particular time of day with a particular profile based on the data sets we have. And we have 2 sets of data. We have 3 sets of data: your personal data, what you do on Uber Rides, and what you do on Uber Eats. And in this case, we were looking for sports fans who were into particular food types because we reckoned that working with DAZN, they were promoting a boxing fight that was happening at a particular time. And we could do this on Saturday nights, and that could, obviously, you get your food delivered and then you can watch the fight. That was the idea. This one had a 5.6% click rate. So, and the dwell time is similar as well. So you've got these experiences where we're grabbing attention with data, contextualized attention with data, I guess, and driving effectiveness back for advertisers on the back of it. And that's what we're doing. So there's a lot more coming in this area, but that's how we're sort of shaping our ad business. And obviously, we do have performance platforms and all those other things as well. It's not just around this, but there is this connectivity between a sort of a brand presence all the way through to transaction, which is what is hopefully driving success for our advertisers.
Incredible. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Nadine, coming to you. ITV has been pioneering some great, amazing work surrounding clean rooms. Maybe you can share a little bit more about your approach, some use cases. It seems that clean rooms has been a really integral part of your measurement approach, so we'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. In the 3 years before, 5 years prior to joining ITV, where I've been 3 years now, I worked at Nectar Sainsbury's. So I spent some time in what I call the pipes and the plumbing of the clean rooms, and particularly in the off-site media space, which, I think, I don't know if there's retailers, but certainly FMCGs in the room will know, has helped aid the explosion of retail media in the last 5 years. And in the 3 years I've been at ITV, I've been really focused there as well. So, I mean, our default clean room for activation is InfoSum. And what we've been able to do with that, I'll touch on 2 things. So thing number 1 is working with advertisers. Some are sitting on a huge goldmine of first-party data. Some are looking to grow out, scale up what they can do. And of course, with the scale of ITV, over 42 million registered users in the UK, up to 20 million monthly active users. So we've got that scale, and we can, I'm going Love Island here, couple up with I couldn't resist, I'm sorry, it's in my contract. We're working with advertisers and working with them closely, and you know how it is, it's very time intensive, so we spend a lot of time consultatively creating what I like to call programmatic strategies. So that's really exciting for us in TV. So what I mean by that is, things you'd come to expect from digital platforms, modeling lookalike strategies, suppression, finding lapses. So we spend a lot of time talking about those strategies and then giving them the ecosystem to do closed loop measurement off the back of that. We recently had some recognition for some work we did with Heineken. We're going to go into year 3 of their first-party data strategy. So using obviously ITVX, our platform, and Tesco Dunnhumby's measurement, we've been able to work with them to create a strategy across, I think it was 7 of their brands this year, so it's absolutely huge. And really it's gone from, I suppose, test and learn, what can we achieve, what can we learn from it, to now like honing in on their audience strategy. So we've had a really interesting case study there. I think we're known for being trusted. I'd like to think TV is still a very trusted platform, and to borrow what Paul was saying, high attention. We don't like to disrupt the viewing experience too much with advertising. But we also have to be really careful with the partnerships, particularly around the data that we have. So we have a very stringent sniff test with our data privacy team. My boss always says, rubbish in, rubbish out. That's not trying not to swear on a Thursday morning, but yeah, rubbish in, rubbish out. So yeah, we can't obviously partner with everyone, so we have to be really choosy about who we partner with in terms of other publishers and other data providers. But yeah, so it's been a really exciting space. I've been very much in the weeds. The measurement, which I've already touched on, I think is definitely a really big focus for us moving forward. So not just with our advertising partners, but in data partnerships that we've established, such as Tesco.
Thank you so much, Nadine. Paul, speaking about measurement on your side, you've been very vocal, and you know how to be vocal, about the need for greater measurement consistency. Why is this, Paul, so important for retail media?
Well, I mean, it's just to make retail media standardized with media. I mean, that's the real thing. And I think there's been, a lot of people have come out with stuff, but we're looking at, how do we get measurement tools in that are standardized, like things like MRC, that type of thing. We just need it, because I think for advertisers, when I speak to them, don't care whether we're commerce media or publisher media. We're just media, and what they want is a consistency across all of those things in terms of how they measure things. So I think that being said, there are some things which are unique to retail media or commerce media, which you might argue there is a measurement approach that is going to be unique, and that's fine. The obvious one, particularly for platforms like us, is about how you do incrementality on a platform, because incrementality is one of those. You can ask 10 people, and their definition of incrementality is going to be different. So that's an area I think that we have to work through. But that's really just a back-end measurement solution using the data that you have, rather than necessarily a standardization that's needed. Because obviously our customers, whether they're big restaurants or CPGs or any of the brands we work with, have very different views on that. But we're working through on that. But I do think where retail media, commerce media has to play is just getting as many of the things standardized to getting to a standard that would be acceptable for a normal media platform. It will just take some time. At
last Data Collaboration Summit in Paris, you may remember the big catchphrase was from your counterpart in France, Nadine, TF1. He said, "No first party, no party." And so it looks like maybe this time you could be the one, Paul, around this idea of standardizing measurement. So I want to turn to our masters of measurement. I like the fact that you sit here in the middle. Plus, Ramla, you look beautiful in your white, costume, and you are the truth with MMM. You are the truth, kind of. Everyone refers to you as the truth. So what does the truth say? The experts. What do you think about the difficulty we have in measuring retail media?
So I would start by the first one, which is what I call fragmentation. So every single retail media network would have their own way of defining ROAS, their own way of defining attribution windows, their own way of reporting. And in a way, we are not comparing.
We're a mess.
We're a mess.
But we're sorry, we're in the battlefields here with the brands, and we do what we can, but we're a mess.
Yeah, so that's the reality. So we're not really comparing apples to apples in this case. I think the second challenge with retail media is lack of transparency. As much as these great networks are really keen into sharing with us great numbers when it comes to ROAS, when it comes to sharing with us what is the methodology, how those numbers were driven, we really stumble on a wall because there is nothing there that we can help us understand how these numbers have been cooked in a way. So I think transparency is the second challenge. And the third one is the incrementality, but also the spillover or halo. So the incrementality, again, how much of this is incremental? Is it ROI or is it ROAS? That's the first one. Second, but that's more for the works in favor to the retailer. So sometimes you do your ads within the retail network, don't only work on the platform itself or the retailer itself. It will go outside, it will go for other retailer, and that as well is not measured as part of your retail media network. So I would say that these three elements make retail media very difficult to measure. And of course, that doesn't say, so here we're not saying that it's impossible, but we're saying that with a little bit more of transparency, with a little bit more of alignment, we'll be able to do that. And again, the other thing that would be really key, and I think Sorin will talk about it later, is the fact that when, at least from the MMM world, when we receive retail media data, it's always bundled, okay? So we don't have it by format, we don't have it by brand. So there's little you can do when data is not detailed and is not granular in MMM. So that's a call for all retail media network owners that it's very important that the data transparency is there so we can really measure it alongside the other activations.
I should say that's the idea of the partnership we have together to try to bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a big challenge, but I'm so excited to say that we are
Yeah, we'll get there.
absolutely going after that. Sorin.
So she stole the show, huh? I mean, there's nothing I can say to add to that. I think she basically took all my points and broke them into... But yeah, consistency of data is something we fight. To give you like a day-to-day example, we run market mix models on retail media as well, included comparing that with paid media. But the model is run at brand level. The data that we have for retail media is at retailer level. So how do you decompose that? How do you ensure that the quality of the data matches the level of the modeling? That's one key challenge. I'm not an expert on retail media by far, but I see that retail media is a big battlefield nowadays in CPG. It's eating from the paid media budget, but it's also eating from the trade budget. It has a lot of room for growth. It's the fastest growing lever that we have. And we still want to figure out how can retail media work to build brands, not just to sell brands. And if anyone can help me do that, that would be fantastic.
I think Paul would have an answer to that, and maybe our friend from Netflix. But Paul, please.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think there's a couple of things on data I just talked about on retail media. One of the challenges is obviously the digital businesses were never built to be retail medias necessarily. That came secondarily. So data sets have to be adjusted and improved to make it work much more effectively for advertisers, particularly around cataloging on SKU level data. That's always a challenge, I think, with a lot of these things, especially when you're talking about attribution or ROAS and those types of things. So there's data sets to do there. But I do think there are opportunities to build brands in in some of these platforms like ours, because I think you can capture the user in different ways and drive activations accordingly. And I think this whole idea, I mean, you know, this whole thing about moments really matters, I think, because the consumer's whole experience now is so different, but they will grab moments which are really important to them. That's certainly what we see.
Absolutely. I can only 100% agree with that. We have firm beliefs that what we call away from home, or like consumption that doesn't happen when you buy it in a grocery chain, is where we build brands nowadays. I mean, where Pepsico, where Walker's is built is not in Tesco, but it's in Subway and Uber Eats.
You said that. Paul, you did the job.
Of course, done.
Simran.
Nadine, you have a project underway that addresses the shortcoming in measurement standardization. Can you tell us a little bit more about Project Lantern?
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone in the room is aware of Project Lantern. So this year it's been in pilot, and what it is a radical collaboration, you could call it, between Channel 4, Sky, ITV, alongside Thinkbox, and what they've built. I mean, I'm not in the team, but I work alongside them. What they've built is a panel that will enable advertisers, enable our buyers to have a look at the effect of total TV on online digital actions. So I think for years, and there's loads of studies that show the power of TV. I mean, it's great for creative storytelling, it's great for building brands. However, in terms of how an advertiser will see the measurement after, there's a huge lag. And if you think about, it's very envious how the platforms can deliver on results instantly. We don't have that in TV. So even though we know the power of it, that's been an issue, and it's also been hard to measure for advertisers as well in terms of, you spoke about standardization, looking at that total TV view. So next phase of the pilot is I think they've opened it up to advertisers next. If anyone's interested, I'll introduce you to the team, of course, but what they're looking to do, so they've started with linear TV. Ambition for next year is to bring in VOD. We've obviously done a lot in the measurement space, but nothing as collaborative and radical as this. So it is a really exciting experiment for us.
No, thanks for talking about the Lantern project. I think, again, it shows the value of collaborating between peers and sometimes competitors for the benefit of everyone. Thank you so much, Nadine. Ramla, I want to turn to you again to talk about this topic of MMM. And as you know, incrementality and experimentation, or RCT, randomized control trials, are often quoted as ways to avoid some of the pitfalls of measurement and especially of attribution. But these are not always possible, as you said, as we saw, depending on the brand settings and resources. So can you share a little bit on how you see this question of connecting MMM with the incrementality measurement within some kind of measurement framework?
I think it's essential. I do believe that there is no one single source of truth. And I think nobody knows the truth. I think all people that operate in the measurement space, we try to get closer and closer to the truth, but who knows where is the truth? That's why I think it's super, super important that when you run any measurement exercise, that you open your eyes and your ears and your books to everything that has been done in measurement. So I don't think that experimentation or attribution or marketing mix modeling need to compete. On the contrary, I believe that marketing mix modeling is that platform that opens for all these measurements to be integrated. I think when, for example, at Mass Analytics, when you run a project, the first thing that we ask our clients, whether they have run any experimentation, for us to get the result of those experimentation and also how these experimentations have been run is super essential. Because when I trust the way the experiment has been run, then I would trust the output of it. And then I would be able to calibrate the MMM models using those experiments. And I think that the best models that we had delivered were the ones where we have used those ground truth in order to calibrate models. In a way, what decision makers will have is something that is aligned, something that gets the strength from every single method, because whether it's MMM or experimentation or attribution, each one of them has its weaknesses and strength. And the idea here is to tap onto the strength of each method, acknowledge the weakness of each one, and try to get something closer to the truth that can help brands make better decision making.
Incredible. I really want to thank you for this and remind everyone of how much of a change this is, to hear what you say, your vision of MMM being open. This is exactly the opposite as the vision of MMM as an ivory tower. I see Paul agreeing with me. Sorin, what do you think?
So I would take one step back. So I fully agree with whatever Ramla said right now. I would go back to classifying what kind of decisions do you want to make in the organization. And we're probably talking too much about the tool, we're talking too much about the data, and we're talking too little about the decisions that we're going to make. So MMM is fantastic at channel level allocation, incrementality is fantastic at within channel optimization. So once you clarify what's the business decision that you're going to make based on that measurement, then the road gets clear and you can understand exactly which method works perfectly. So I haven't yet seen how experimentation works perfectly with MMM, but I would love to see it.
This is the frontier. Thanks for reminding us of this, which really resonates with what Laetitia said in the beginning, to really start with business questions. I think we have time, Simran, for some questions.
We do. Thank you so much to all of our speakers for your insights. So we'll turn to the audience if you have any questions.
Questions? Maybe remote?
We do have one remote, unless someone wants to take a first.
Yes, there is one over there in the back, Morgan.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Get my
much.
cardio in. Okay.
Thanks. The hardest is always the first one.
Hi, this is for Simran. You were mentioning that for Poppy, they have a completely different set of measurements, and they're built to basically measure product seeding and influencer marketing. How are they doing that, and what are you learning that you can allocate to more traditional brands?
How are they doing that? That's a very long conversation. I'm happy to have it over a chat. It's simply that everything they do is opposite to what a traditional reach-based plan model would look like, and it works. And that's where we need to better understand how could a large organization like PepsiCo adapt those kind of like weird, let's say, plans and still work with the constraints that we have, like the amazing field force, distribution, scale, and principles that we have in place. I don't know what, I don't know. I know what experiments we will put into place to try to replicate that model. I don't know if that model would work for an established brand. It probably needs to start from a seed.
We have a question in the front, Morgan. Thank you. Sorry. We have you run.
Yeah, keeping you on your toes. Thanks so much, guys. That was really fascinating. I think a couple of people mentioned, forgive me, I forget who exactly, but the kind of opaqueness of trying to capture measurements across retailers and ultimately maybe not even fully trusting some of the ROAS numbers that are coming out of that. When you do get that across a network of dozens of retail networks or retailers, etc., when you do get those numbers, how then do you face the challenge of aggregating that into a data set that can actually be used and then applied to a strategy back out across those retailers? If that question makes sense. And I guess it's kind of cross-panel, but maybe Sorin again could start on that one.
I think Laetitia earlier on, when she was talking about the experience and how they do it in L'Oréal, I think she brought in one of the answers that I believe a lot on. So she mentioned that she will be getting those ROAS from the different platforms, but at the same time, her own teams internally would be running some kind of measurement program. They'll be comparing what they are getting in terms of ROAS with what they are getting in terms of internally, and they try to calibrate. I think, as I said earlier on, the truth is somewhere in between. It's very important to use all the elements you have, your marketing mix modeling, your experimentation, your gut feeling, as well as a decision maker, the decision that you want to make ultimately with this type of measurement. And of course, if you have any vendor or if you have any supply of services, to tap on their experience, because we know, for example, what is approximately the impact of retail media. We know what is the impact of promotion. So if we see that, I was speaking to Paul yesterday about a client telling me that they were running some kind of AI-powered email marketing, and they believe internally that this is driving 30% of their business. We know that this is impossible. It's just impossible. So that's the experience that you would have that put on the table in order to calibrate some of the thinking. And I think, Sorin, in your book, there's something that's very interesting that you mentioned, that sometimes, why are you running a measurement? Are you running measurement in order to validate your beliefs as decision makers, or are you running measurement in order to discover the future? And of course, Sorin was leaning towards measurement that will lead us to a better future, rather than just using measurement in order to validate the decisions that the business has made.
Wow. This is a fantastic way to close this panel. I want to thank you all so much. What's next? We'll have an amazing fireside chat with Damien Bernet, building the future of entertainment-driven advertising from Netflix.